And we are going now live now, Brother Minister. I'm waiting for the notification. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a great guest, one who I'm very humbled and honored that you would take time out of your busy schedule, sir, to give us some information as well as inspiration. I want to extend the greetings of Assalamu alaikum to the great student minister Abdul Aziz Muhammad. Sir, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Joshua. Just to say the honor is mine, brother. All praise is due to Allah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I look forward to learning about you, sir, and your story, sir. My first question is, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, sir?
I actually first heard the teachings, it was in 1980. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had did a lecture at one of the colleges in New York called Liberty or Death.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And why did you accept the teaching, sir?
Well, I mean, I couldn't get away. What I heard from the minister was so powerful and so relevant to what was going on in the world. And of course, I had never heard anyone speak like that. And it just, I couldn't get away.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Praise
sir.
be to Allah. Okay. Sister Teresa Pearl says, Assalamu alaikum. Sister Khadija Kareem, Assalamu alaikum. A lot of people send you the greetings, Brother Minister. My next question for you. How did your parents feel about you accepting the teaching, sir?
Well, my mother, once she got a chance to go to the mosque and visit the mosque, she was happy because she saw a change in my lifestyle that was, totally opposite. You know, you young, you involved in, drugs and alcohol and so forth and so on, and you're just living a riotous lifestyle. And
Yes, sir.
Once I heard the teachings and I accepted the teachings, then my lifestyle changed totally and completely, and she was extremely happy about that.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Beautiful. And once you, where did you accept the teachings? In New York?
Yes, sir. Number 7.
Yes, sir. And what was the climate? What was the climate like in New York? Who were the laborers and who trained you, sir?
Well, at the time, we had a brother formerly known as Brother Linward, who was blessed with an attribute from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He became Brother Kareem.
Yes, sir.
My first captain was Brother Alpha Farrakhan, a former son-in-law of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And
yes, sir.
So, I mean, and I can't remember who the other laborers were, but we accepted and they began to train us. We had, at the time, we had 2 mosque meetings going on. One was in Brooklyn, and I later on found out that it was one going on in Manhattan as well. And brother that was running the mosque in Manhattan was Brother James 7X, formerly, and he's now Brother Nabi. Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And what was it like for you the first time you met the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan?
Man, it's hard to explain. I mean, it was a beautiful situation. I was at awe, of course, and it was kind of different for me because as we began to move into the ranks, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was at that time coming in and out of New York and up and down the uh, East Coast, man, on a constant and continuous basis. And so,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
we was like seeing the minister like regular.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
it so happened that um, I was allowed to be one of those to be around and to help secure him. And we would go to different cities up and down the East Coast and help secure him. And so I ended up being in his presence a lot. All praises
Yes,
to
sir.
Allah.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And thank you. And I want to make sure that we thank you and your family on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing and listening audience for your sacrifice and their sacrifice as well.
Yes.
Brother Akeem, sends the greetings. Sister Naeem and Walaikum Salam family, they all send you the greetings as well, Brother Minister. My next question for you, sir, is how did you get to start traveling? Every time I look on a video, specifically for me, the time the Most High Mr. Farrakhan appeared on Donahue, Donahue makes a reference to the man standing behind him, and it's you.
Yes, sir.
How did you get to be so close to the minister, and what was it like securing him from since back then?
Well, I'm not sure how I ended up on that post, to tell the truth.
Yes,
But
sir.
I don't think I was assigned, of course, but
Yes, sir.
man, it was just it was amazing because one of the things that was happening that what people did not see is that Mr. Donahue, during the commercial breaks, he would say things at me and I realized that he was trying to get me on edge, trying to get me to a point where I would do something in a negative way or respond in a negative way. And it manifested when at some point in time he approached me and he made the statement, "Doesn't this guy look intimidating?" And I realized at that point that he had been leading up to that because he wanted me to respond. And he got kind of close. So I think that he probably wanted me to physically respond as well. But of course I didn't. I looked at the minister, and the minister had such a beautiful smile, and it was infectious. And I smiled as a result of the minister's smile. And it was interesting because white folks and black folks out in the crowd, they were shocked. They were like, he smiled, you know. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, man, it was beautiful. All praises due to Allah.
Yes, sir. And during this time period, there are no cell phones, no Wi-Fi, no nothing of that sort.
Right.
How did you ever feel afraid for your life, putting your life on the line for the minister? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
I never felt afraid of putting my life on the line for the minister. It was very interesting because the training that we received, my first captain used to tell us when we went on a detail, he said, brothers, he said, go home. He said, hug your wife and, give her the greetings and hug your family, because you may not get back home. And so, you know, we were prepared. When we went on the detail, we were prepared for the fact that we might not make it back home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I never went on a detail with the minister fearing for my life. I remember one time we had a detail to go up into Albany to secure the minister. And it was kind of before I really understood that the minister's life was guarded totally and is guarded totally and completely by Allah and his Christ. And we were
on
detail for that weekend, and we were in a church. And at the end of the service, it was a huge church, and people started coming, and the detail was kind of small, and the people were coming. Man, it's like they weren't stopping. It was like they were crowding the area, and they were trying to get to the minister. And at that point in time, I feared for perhaps our inability to totally and completely protect the minister the way that we needed to do.
Yes,
and,
sir.
But all praise is due to Allah. We challenged the fear. We didn't have no place to go, and we couldn't do nothing but challenge it. And
yes, sir.
He saw what was happening. And at some point in time, you know, it was interesting because it was like he wasn't trying to go nowhere. You know, he was like, man, you know, what are we going to do with this situation? But the minister was cool and calm, and he didn't have no appearance of being edgy at all, wasn't looking to go any place. And so at some point in time, he decided, well, okay, you know, I'm ready. And I was extremely happy about that. Oh, praise.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And Brother Minister, a lot of people are sending you the greetings, and your daughter, Sister Medina, saying you're doing a great job, Dad. My sister Miriam says all praises due to Allah, unbothered by the enemy. And my nephew Kwani, Brother Daquan, says OG, all praises due to Allah. My next question for you, sir, is there was a picture on Facebook of you protecting the Most High Min Farrakhan at Yusuf Hawkins' funeral in New York. What was the climate during that time period? You know, young Black man being killed. And do you see any correlation to that time period now?
Well, you know, it's interesting because when you read The Fall of America by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all of what he says in The Fall of America is happening now.
Yes, sir.
And in terms of the correlation as it relates to the minister then and the minister now, I mean, it's all relevant, and it was really all on time. You know, our job was to see to it that the minister get from point A to point B. Our job was to be a living sacrifice. Our job was to martyr, if necessary, to protect the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's life. And that was pretty much all that was on our mind. I never really focused. I focused on what was going on a little bit, but my main focus was in making sure that we got the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan from point A to point B.
Praise be to Allah. And thank you all. And thank you for doing such a great job at that, sir. What was your favorite detail of protecting the minister?
Wow. All of them.
Yes, sir.
Even up to now, Brother Joshua, it's like whenever I get the opportunity to help secure the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, is such an honor and a privilege, and it's such a wonderful feeling to be able to present your life, for in the place of his, if necessary. And so I'm just trying to think as we're talking. I really don't know of a specific detail
Yes, sir.
that was more loved for me than all of the details were just loved.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Praise
sir.
be to Allah. And speaking of the details, since you came in at such a young age, when did you go from seeing the Most and the Most Mrs. Farrakhan in his early days, from seeing him from maybe as a speaker or an activist to someone who was divinely guided?
And you know what, Brother Joshua, I'm gonna tell you something that I end up telling the minister just about a year ago. We were blessed to have coffee with him, and as a matter of fact, he was in Atlanta at the time.
Praise
And we had coffee with him that morning prior to him coming out. And it was back during the time when I was a captain in New York. And even after that, I was assisting in the region, and I was going from mosque to mosque, Newark, Philly, Trenton, a lot of different mosques throughout the East Coast region.
Yes, sir.
But I used to train the brothers, and when I spoke to them, for some reason or another, Allah put it on my heart that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was growing into a God in our face.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
I just said it. It came to me. I said it, and it took me a minute to realize that it came from God.
Yes, sir.
And I spoke to him about it, and he said sometimes Allah does that. He gives people, things.
Allahu Akbar. Beautiful, sir. Sister Captain Shanasia Muhammad says, thank you for your service. My soldier spirit emulates from studying you. Thank you, Sister Miriam, for your question. And boom. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. My next question for you, sir, is speaking of specific details, how was the Million Man March? How was it leading up to the Million Man March with the men's only tours? And then how did the Million Man March personally impact you, sir?
It was a lot of work involved. As you know, the minister crisscrossed the country, and man, it impacted me. Man, the impact of it was just magnificent, and it just really helped to take us up another notch spiritually, and just motivate us, and help us to increase our spirit and our desire to want to help the man of God in our midst.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And the actual day of the Million Man March, after that day, how did it impact you personally?
Man, I mean, it was better than the highs that I used to get, long time ago.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I came to the nation.
Yes, sir.
The minister was still in Washington, and for a couple of days or so afterward, and man, I mean, we just floated around there. until we got him to the airport and got him, safely in the air by Allah's grace and permission.
Praise be to Allah. And Brother Minister, for us to see you, especially my entire life, security, military captain, how was it transitioning from the military side into the ministry?
It was a little troublesome, Brother Joshua.
Yes, sir.
Because in my understanding of being a captain and the difference between being a captain and being a minister, and you have powerful ministers and you have powerful captains, but the captain of a city or area is the one who exercises the power. And the minister is kind of, to a slight degree, a little bit laid back. He has the power, but he gives the power over to the captain to exercise. And so in that transition, you have to, I had to come to grips with the fact that it was, my captain's turn to exercise the power that
Yes, sir.
I gave him.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, sir. And thank you all for continuing to watch the People's Podcast. Yes, sir. My next question is, what has been your greatest trial in your tenure in the nation, and how have you overcome that, sir?
Wow. Well, my greatest trial basically was just to continue to work, because there's always circumstances and situations and, people trying to get you to relax, so to speak. Brothers used to say, I heard that plenty of times, y'all need to relax. But, my position was that even though it might not look like it, but I was relaxed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In terms of, I'm looking at the minister and he's not even thinking about, even today with his health conditions, he's not even thinking about slowing up or sitting down. So,
yes, sir.
I just couldn't see where I need to even consider anything like that.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back just a little bit. It was, and I'm trying to, the year that we spent about some of us spent about 8 days in Chicago for Savior's Day. You all were real young at that time. And,
yes, sir.
We ended up, they had a laborers meeting that morning with the national laborers. And I ended up at Mas Mariam, and we had to set up check posts and so forth and so on. And so we just took the initiative, FOI,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we just took the initiative, we set it up, and Brother Ali, formerly Brother Frank, was the Supreme Captain at that time. And
yes,
when he got there and he saw that everything was set up, then he actually put me in charge of the entire compound. We were in the tent, and so of course there was posts all over the place, and he put me in charge of the compound. And so, but periodically I would come in and stand close to where the minister was speaking at, and it was interesting because a week or so later, he came to New York, and we were en route to a destination that he wanted to go to. And he asked me, it was him and Brother Jabril and Brother Mustafa were riding in my vehicle, and he asked me, he said, "Brother, where were you at Savior's Day?" And I told him what I was doing
Yes,
and
sir.
where I was at. And at that point, he said to me, he said, "No, sir." He said, "From this point on," he said, "I want you with me, so that
Mm.
where I am, ye may be also."
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that,
Praise be
brother,
to Allah.
was a highlight that, I mean, that was a high in and of itself. You know, I had to keep from wrecking the car. I was so
Yes, sir.
all praise is due to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. My next question for you, sir, is outside of the Most Elijah Muhammad, Most Farrakhan, um, who has been your greatest inspiration in your life?
Man, that's a difficult one, Brother Joshua, because I mean, aside from my mom, um, but man, once you begin to see them, then it's kind of like everything else goes dark.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, man, I really, outside of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I really can't think of a specific person outside of my mom that really impacted my life like
Mm.
that. And clearly because I was living a crazy lifestyle before I came to the nation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, man, I can't think of nobody. Like, you look at, well, I used to listen to this leader and that leader and this one. I never really did that.
Mm.
Um, I remember one time going to this bookstore. Was my first time going to this bookstore in Harlem on Lenox Avenue, and it was a lot of pictures of Black nationalists, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's picture was there, and there was one picture in there that didn't have a name on it, and it was a brother. And I asked the brother in the bookstore, I said, "Well, who's that?" He said, "That's Jesus." And it blew my mind
Mm.
because of all of the pictures of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, you know, that was very impacting in itself, and it really helped to start me on a road. It didn't pull me away from the riotous life, but it put something on my mind that
Yes, sir.
wasn't
Yes,
on
sir.
me.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful. And Brother Minister, I have a quick commercial break just to announce my sponsors of this week's podcast. Thank you again for your honesty and transparency. Your daughter, Sister Medina, says she salutes you and mommy for your mother, your wife, for your sacrifices, and thank you both for your life and your foundation of Islam. My sister Miriam says she thanks you for this historic conversation. Grateful off the record, Price's history. Praise be to Allah. Thank you all for watching. Brother Minister,
All praise.
quick commercial break. My brother Rashad, his video production company with brother Jamal, street premiere, editing, 4K, drone. They working on film, television, music videos, whatever you all need of editing. Please reach out to Street Premiere. My sister
Okay.
Miriam, ABC I Love Me, coloring book, as well as a children's book on Amazon. Please make sure you all get that. My sister Naima Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC, teaching ballet virtually to young sisters all across the nation. Supreme Men's Clothing and Fashion, St. Louis, Missouri, 40835 West Florissant Avenue, 314-528-555. Our brother Ronald Muhammad in Phoenix, Arizona, BMW Entertainment. They do event planning all across the country. Our brother Kenneth Muhammad, Bowtie Maker Extraordinaire, 917-337-1380. He'll ship the bow ties all across the country. Supreme Team Insurance, Brother Todd X McGraw, our brother, 803-521-2787. Make sure you get some insurance. If you all don't have any, reach out to Brother Todd X McGraw. Baby Bean Pies, fresh out of Oakland, California. Brother Carlton and Sister Zakia Muhammad, they will get the bean pies to you. Sister Shelly Hassan, Exodus, and Way of Credit Restoration.com. If you need someone to fix your credit, please reach out to our sister. Brother Chantel X, Supreme Express, the X Factor in Transportation and Logistics. Sister Serena Woodford in Fort Lauderdale, Designs of Composure, HollyTexture.com, homemade hair products and skin products. Standing on the Pentagon and Needles of a Boy's Journey from Indifference to Making a Difference, our brother Jason Ali on Amazon. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my sister Tia Muhammad, flashcards, Raising Black Millionaires. Thank you, sister. She can ship these out to you all for young Black children economic development. My second book, which is a children's book, Cleopatra, is on Amazon. And my first book, No Father, No Excuse, is finally on Amazon. Thank you all for your support. $ The People's Podcast, so we can keep this going. Back to you, Brother Minister.
Yes, sir.
My next question for you, sir, is, speaking of books, will you ever write a book on your personal life and journey?
I don't see it in the near future, Brother Joshua. There have been many people that have asked me. They've attempted to plant the seed in my head to get me in that kind of thinking. I'm just not ready yet.
Okay, yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And thank you, Brother Keem, for saying thank you for inviting us to this conversation. No problem, bro. Anytime, anything we can do to help give the believers information as well as inspiration. Brother Minister, what do you do for fun?
Well, I mean, we study. We're sheltering in at this point in time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, the divinely guided man from God says shelter in and go out only when you have to, and then you wear your protective gear when you go out.
Yes,
but,
sir. Yes, sir.
You know, when I'm not studying, I get the opportunity to set out in the yard and get some sun, and of course my wife is here with me, and just it's a chance to carry on some conversations that we hadn't had time to carry on before, but now we do. And once in a while there's a Muslim program that I like to look at.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Excellent. And speaking of your wife, what advice would you give to future husbands, sir?
Well, they need to love their wives and respect them, and honor goes a long way with them. And so, brothers, I remember when we first came in, there were some brothers, and the minister had to kind of tone them down a little bit, because their wife was to them kind of like another soldier. And
Yes,
somebody
sir.
had
Yes, sir.
reported that some brother, I don't know who it was, but he had his wife doing push-ups when he disagreed with her.
Yes,
and
sir. Yes, sir.
The minister got a hold to that, and he put a stop on that right away. But
yes, sir.
It's a matter of just recognizing that they are also God, and recognizing that they are your second self.
Yes,
and
sir.
Understanding that they have your best interest at heart. And whether you agree with one another on issues or not, the fact of the matter is that that's the soldier that's going to look out for you.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Beautiful. And about a year ago, the Most High Mr. Farrakhan is in Atlanta. I go to see him, and your grandson is at the door. I see your son on the way up to him, and then when I get inside, I see you. Uh, what is it like to have your grandson in the work, your son? You know, how does that feel to, you know, be 3 generations down, all, you know, being soldiers?
Brother Joshua, that's a feeling that is difficult to explain. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I remember the minister, the last time he spoke at Morgan State University, and we were there to secure him. And we were at the airport when he was getting ready to leave. And a few of the ministers, the other student ministers, were around, and he was talking to us. And a lot of times when the minister is talking to us, I really just listen. I don't have a lot to say.
Yes,
And
sir.
so what happens is the minister will then shift the conversation to a one-on-one, for lack of better words, between him and myself. And he did that, as he does a lot of times. And he asked me about the family and so forth and so on, because he knows them. And
Yes, sir.
so I was telling him, you know, what they were doing, and that my youngest son was on the E-team advance, and Sister Kimberly, of course, was, you know, she's Vanguard. And at that time, Saad was working his way toward E-team. He hadn't gotten up in the suite yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, but at any rate, the minister said to me, and it really blew my mind. I felt so at my elated, man, because the minister said to me, he said, well, brother, he said, you have always been steadfast. And I knew that I wasn't a person that had come to the nation and left and come back and left and come back. But hearing it from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and knowing that he is the voice of God in our midst,
Yes, sir.
like hearing it from God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then he said to me, he said that when you're steadfast in the work like that, and this, I hope that, you know, brothers and sisters, just feel me on this. He said that when you're steadfast in the work like that, he said Allah is obligated to give you offspring to continue on in the work. Blew me away, brother, because I never knew that Allah was obligated to do a doggone thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's the thing, brother, that we gotta be steadfast in that work, man, and because what that does is it solidifies our prodigy, our offspring, in terms of being in the work as well.
Beautiful. And thank you, sir. And thank your family once again for their sacrifice as well. What has been your favorite? You've been around celebrities a lot in your work. What has been your favorite celebrity encounter, sir?
The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Outside of the minister, brother minister. outside of the minister.
Yes, sir. Man, you know, that's a difficult one too, brother Joshua, because in being around the minister, and I ended up, as a result of being involved in security, I ended up in and around several other what you call entertainment people.
Yes, sir.
And being a part of their security, but I was never at all about any of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, they were people. They were significant, of course, because, you know, I was securing them. but
Yes, sir.
I never looked at them. I was never starstruck.
Mm, mm. Okay, beautiful. Thank you, sir. And
Yes,
my last question for you, sir, is what would you like your legacy to be?
man, brother Joshua, I would just like my legacy to be my working in this work until such time as Allah take me away from here.
Mm.
You know, I don't see no other way. The minister told us a long time ago, he said there's no retirement in this work.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes, sir.
Elijah Muhammad puts it like this. He said, you know, rest. He said, you can get plenty rest after you dead.
Yes,
So,
sir. Yes, sir.
so my legacy, brother Joshua, is just that being a soldier in the nation of Islam under the guidance of the Messiah in our midst, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That is what I want to follow me for centuries after I'm gone.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. I want to just thank you. Thank your family. I
Thank
can't
you,
stress
brother.
enough how much we grew up. My brother and I, specifically on the men's side, admiring you and trying to emulate you and the brothers that you were being around, because we all wanted to protect the most fundamental Farrakhan and serve our nation in the military as well. I
Yes.
thank you, sir. I salute you, and I can't stress enough how much we admire you and your family. So please continue to fight the good fight, and I look forward to seeing you, inshallah, when all of this, if this comes up and we can have some encounters again. May
Absolutely.
Allah bless you and your family, sir.
Yes, sir, brother Joshua. Thank you so much for inviting me on. And may Allah continue to bless you and your family. And once again, please give them all the greetings from us.
Yes, sir. No problem, sir. All right. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.